Hello, I'm Jack. I'm 30 years old. I am a married person with 3 children. I am a psychologist. I spend most of my days listening to people's problems, and one day I will do what I always do. I prepared for work like this. After saying goodbye to my family, I went to the hospital. After going to the office, my first patient arrived. She was a girl. She came with her mother, but she was quiet. I asked the little girl what the problem was, but she wouldn't say anything. I asked again, but she wouldn't speak again. Then her mother intervened to explain the problem. It started, the little girl would wake up in the middle of the night and stare out the window for hours, sometimes talking to someone and trying to get down, but downstairs. His mother was saying that there was no one there and that they should go and look after it themselves. I was surprised. Could it be schizophrenia? But it was too early to make a diagnosis. I kept listening. Her mother started to tell again, and some nights she would go to her mother's bedroom and watch them for hours. I had goosebumps when I looked back at the girl. He was staring at me and laughing. I started to think he was going crazy. I prescribed some medicine and told him to take them. The mother and daughter who took the prescription were gone. To a few patients. After looking, my shift was over. I got ready and went home. My daughter hugged me shouting, "Daddy." I took her and sat at the dinner table after we ate our dinner. I watched some TV and went to bed. It was 12 at night, but I couldn't sleep. I explained the situation to my wife. She said she was crazy and asked me to calm down, but I didn't feel like sleeping. It wasn't comfortable at all. I fell asleep after stopping for a while. The mother and daughter came back a month later. I asked if the medicines were working after her mother took the medicine. Then he said it got worse. He started screaming at night and kept yelling that you can't get rid of me. I was surprised. When I looked back at my daughter, there were a few scratches on her face. No matter what we did, I started to think that something was haunting the girl, so I started looking for different ways. First with a wizard. I talked. He gave me a mirror and water. He put the mirror in front of the girl and told me to make her drink the water. I took the mirror and the water and went home again. I had set my mind to solve this problem. I immediately reached the girl's mother's number through the appointment information, and as soon as I learned their home address, I put the materials in the car and went to their home. It was a 2-story house. Its bell I stole. It was her mother who opened the door. I told her what the sorcerer had told her. Even though she said it wasn't a good idea at first, she had to accept it. I entered the house and went to the girl's room. When we left, he was looking at me angrily. I immediately took the mirror and put it in front of him. After I made him drink the water, his eyes started to close slowly. Then suddenly she looked at the mirror. When I looked back at the mirror, she was looking at me with her eyes open. After a while, the girl started talking in a deep voice, "Don't mess with me." After a while, the mirror cracked. The girl suddenly fainted. We immediately brought cologne to wake her up, and when she woke up, she was back to normal, hugging her mother tightly. None. Her smiling face was now smiling. I was relieved, but it was late now and I had to go home. I packed everything up, got in the car, and went home immediately. When I opened the door, there was no one. I immediately went to the room. When I opened the door, my wife and daughters were lying on the floor. I tried to wake them up immediately, but they did not wake up. I immediately called the ambulance. They took me to the hospital. But despite all efforts, he could not be saved. My life was destroyed. I did not come home for days, but I had to go home. We went home with a few friends who came for me. To enter that room, I was afraid. When the police examined the room, they could not find any evidence. I wanted to look and check. When I entered the room, I noticed that the mirrors were cracked. I couldn't hold it back and started crying again. For years I questioned why I was involved in such a thing. I always blamed myself. but it was too late. The girl I saved. Her life was going very well. She was like my daughter after my family, and whenever I went to her, I remembered my daughters and my wife. I hope you liked our story. Don't forget to follow me for more. See you later.